So today we are talking about a brand new company out of Germany. They are called 48ers, and this is their second guitar, from what I understand, called the Loveliner. These guitars come with different setups, so some of them have a humbucker or single coil or two single coil, and in this case, this Loveliner has two humbuckers. So who is this company? They were at Guitar Summit in Germany this year. I didn't get to see them. There were too many companies, to be honest, and I've missed a lot. This was one of them. And these guys, out of Cologne, Germany, are starting their company this year. So they've been trying to get into the market since last year, but this year is really where they're giving it their all. What's the story behind the name? The founder of the company, called Dirk, he played a guitar in the early 90s. It was a 12-string acoustic. He took all the strings off and just put a set of 6 strings on there. And since it had a wider neck, he fell in love with it, found out that it was 48 millimeters, and decided to get one of his buddies to build him a custom guitar with a 48 millimeter neck. So one of his bandmates, which played bass, ended up trying his custom guitar and fell in love with the neck. And he was like, I play bass, I get on this guitar, and I don't feel like the strings are all crumpled up together. So this gave Dirk the idea of maybe starting a company where their thing would be a 48 millimeter wide neck, which would be suitable for people that have bigger hands, people who are used to playing classical guitar, or even people who did a whole lot of finger picking on acoustic and wanted to transition to electric guitar. Thus, the company was born and named 48ers, and this is what they're marketing their guitar as. Different, has a much wider neck, so if you're looking for something that isn't as narrow as, let's say, something like on my Steve Morse guitar, which has probably the most narrow neck I've ever played in my life, this is the polar opposite. This is probably one of the widest guitar necks I've ever played, but it doesn't feel weird, it doesn't feel awkward. it feels quite comfortable to play. It just, you have to get used to landing where the strings actually are, because sometimes you can end up right in between. So getting used to the neck probably takes like 10, 20 minutes of you playing it. And then transitioning to other guitars doesn't feel so bad. I was kind of worried about that first. Like, what if I play this for like an hour and I have to put it back and grab another guitar while I'm playing live or doing some recording? Is this going to be hard to transition? And once you get used to it, it's really not that bad. Now, besides the 48 millimeters, the one thing I think that is way more important about this company than the neck, I think, is the fact that they can produce the guitar that sells for less than €1,000 right here in Europe. So now, before I tell you how they go about it, I just want to talk about the specs of the guitar. Then we're going to talk about how they go about making these guitars and sell them for less than $1,000. So first off, you have yourself a maple neck with a really thick, I don't know if this is going to show up on screen or not, hopefully it does, but a super thick rosewood board, thicker than what I have on my basses. So if you have ever played a bass guitar, you will notice that they have rather thick rosewood boards. This one here is even thicker than that. I asked Dirk why that was, and he said, I don't know. I don't make the neck. It's my dude over in Romania that makes these guitar necks, and that's his choice. So I was like, kudos, that's really well thought of, because a wider neck, thicker neck with a nice big slab of rosewood really looks good. The other thing that they do that is different in this price point is that they have a bone nut. They have Goto tuners. There is, I believe these are CTS pots. I'm not quite sure who makes the bridge, but it's very good and quite functional. And then for the pickups, those are Tesla pickups. I believe he told me they were VR3 or Nitro, VR3 Nitro, something like that. I'm going to put the information here down below. And these are the ones that stuck out to him as being the best value. So that's what he went with. Now, if they were to put in, I don't know, Seymour Duncan or DiMarzio, that would really change the overall cost of the guitar. And if they went with like different tuners or different bridge, that might bring up the cost. And the profit margin, from what I understand, isn't all that great on these guitars, but their real value or philosophy, if you will, is to put a guitar in your hands that is built in Europe and that sells for less than $1,000, and that you get great quality in this price point. Obviously, they're not marketing this as the next Sir or the next Tom Anderson. They're not going for that market. They're going for the, if you're going for the low-end Gibson or high-end Epiphone or, you know, high-end Squire, and you're paying around this price, you're not going to get the same value from those guitars that you will from this one. And that's what they're going for. Right now, they only have two models. They have the, I believe it's called Agronaut. I'm going to put it on screen. It's more of a Les Paul shaped guitar. And this one. And obviously, the more they expand, they might get more models in there. But for right now, those are the two models that they have. keeping on with the specs, this is a mahogany body. This one here is a 5-piece body. I've talked to Dirk about it, and he said, yeah, he goes, we're still trying out a bunch of stuff, but the new ones that people are going to be purchasing are going to be 2-piece body. He doesn't like the idea that there are too many pieces here for this. I believe this is Canadian maple neck, and then obviously the rosewood board. So everything about this screams quality, and here is my impression having been playing this thing for roughly a month now. So obviously the looks are cool. I've never had a body that was offset like this, so Jazzmaster has never been something I've owned. So I thought this was really cool, and the pickups in here are much hotter than the humbuckers in my Steve Morse, so it makes it substantially different for me, because the ones in the Steve Morse are more like low output PAF kind of thing. They almost kind of sound like single coils, to be honest. And then these ones here, just they scream. So whenever I put them through a distortion pedal or fuzz, it's just like really pummeling the front of the pedal or even the amplifier. So great output, still very clear sounding pickup. And now the thing that these guys are really focusing on, which is the neck. So how do I find the neck? I did talk about it briefly earlier, but here's the lowdown on the aspect of the neck. So if you are a bass player, I play bass and I play guitar almost equally, having a wider neck is different. It's neither good or bad. It's just a different kind of feel when it comes to playing guitar. So there's a little more real estate for your fingers. So if you have big, long fingers or fat sausage fingers, you might feel right at home with this guitar. But let's say this was your first higher end guitar. This was maybe a backup for you, or maybe this was going to be the one. How would you get used to this neck? It would probably take you between 15 to 20 minutes to get used to the neck on this. And the more you play it, the more it feels natural. So transitioning from this to another guitar doesn't feel like that big of a step. And the more you play it, the more it feels natural to change between different guitars. The first day that I had it, I was like, wow, this is different. Not bad, not good, just different, right? It's just, this is a different concept, wider neck. But I have played classical guitars before, and that's the impression I got when I started to play with this. More of a classical neck. So if you ever played those, you know that your fingers are not as close together. You have to stretch out a bit. This is what it feels like. So if you're used to that, the transition isn't all that concerning. But if you haven't played that before, and maybe you play like a thinner neck, like you would find on an Ibanez, and then you end up on this, this might take just a little bit of getting used to. But otherwise, the concept of making a wider neck that isn't too thick feels super solid in your hands. And I think that is one of the qualities about this neck that I don't get out of my other guitars. And I love my other guitars. They all have their pros and cons. But for this one here, the concept of the 48 millimeters, the way that the neck is shaped, feels more like a sturdy rhythm guitar. It does lead, like I can play lead on it, no issues. But it feels to me like if I was playing in a band and I was playing rhythm guitar, a neck like this would be perfect because I'm not bending stuff out of tune. I believe that this guitar, at this price point, is absolutely killer. It's very hard to find a guitar that comes with the accoutrements that you will find on here. So a bone nut, really thick, nice slab of rosewood, big, chunky, but still very comfortable neck. 48 millimeters is not for everybody, of course. For me, I adapted to it quite quickly and quite enjoy it. And sometimes I wonder if I wouldn't put a neck like this on other guitars too, because once you get used to it, it's killer. It feels like a great guitar. The contours are just right, like I'm a big fat dude, and the guitar is not slipping this way like my Strat does. I get the contours in the right place, especially here and over there. The neck feels like it's never coming off. It's bolted on there just right. Everything about this guitar screams quality. It's just going to be a matter of people giving it a shot, trying it out to see if they like the neck, because the neck is a huge selling point, at least for me as a guitar player. If I don't like the neck, I'll never bond with the guitar. You can change the pickups, you can change the hardware, but the neck is a bit of a tricky thing. And for me, this one here, I'm glad I tried it because now I appreciate a wider neck. And to be honest, going forward, I might be looking at wider guitar necks, not necessarily thicker. I don't like baseball bats, and this is not a baseball bat. This feels right at home for me. And I like the string space. I don't tend to hit flub notes as much with this neck. So all in all, I hope that 48ers get to reach out to other people so more people speak about them. give their opinion. So this is just one opinion. You might get something completely different from someone else. But my honest, unbiased opinion is that I believe that for the price point, you can't go wrong with this guitar. So if you want something made in Europe, you want something that is still relatively affordable and that is made for a bigger hand, or maybe someone that's just looking for something that feels different, this might be the guitar for you. Now, I'm going to be doing other videos with this guitar in the future. You're going to see it in more demos. So if you have any questions for me, just let me know down in the comments of this video or any other video that you see this guitar in. And I'm going to see you in the next one. Cheers.